Backrooms is now in theaters. This is the new horror movie directed by 20-year-old Kane Parsons. The kid's not even old enough to have a drink in America yet. This is highly anticipated. Backrooms is based on a web series that Kane created on YouTube, pretty much. And that is based off of more or less copypasta from 4chan or Reddit, kind of a combination of both. There's a ton of spin-off stories and things like that. What did I think of this movie? This movie rocks. This movie is so good. It's unbelievable that a 20-year-old with no movie experience, only short films on YouTube that he made in Blender about Backrooms pretty much, is this competently made. Really impressive. This movie's produced by James Wan, Sean Levy, Osgood Perkins. Like, really big names are attached to this movie. They clearly saw something in Kane Parsons and then the premise of this movie, and it's really paid off. If you don't want any spoilers, go see this movie first. The less you know about this movie going in, the better your viewing experience will be. Whether you are, an adult that has no idea what Backrooms is and you just hear, the kids talking about Backrooms, whether you are someone that is familiar with the concept of kind of, the lore behind Backrooms, or whether or not you're the biggest Backrooms fan on YouTube. This movie's for everyone, but I just think the less you know about this movie going in, the better. So, if you need to familiarize yourself, I'd say see the trailer. Don't really do much YouTube research. If you like the movie, then I think you're more than welcome to dig into the lore of Backrooms. It's very interesting from what I've heard. I have not dug into it. I don't know if I will. But it seems like there's a lot of meat on the bone to learn about Backrooms. So I will try to keep this spoiler light, this video, but again, go see Backrooms if you don't want anything spoiled. So, this movie with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate Reinsve. Impressive cast. Chiwetel definitely brings a sophistication to the movie. He brings an air of legitimacy. He's one of our best actors. He's been underserved the past 10, 15 years, probably ever since 12 Years a Slave, more or less, playing Doctor Strange's sidekick, or Venom 3's military man or whatever. Like, he hasn't been handed the best roles, I'll say that. He is fantastic in this movie. He plays like a down on his luck furniture store owner who is an aspiring architect who has some trauma issues, as does Renate Reinsve, who plays his therapist who's dealing with her own trauma. Let me say right off the bat, obviously I loved almost everything about this movie. I really enjoyed it. The stuff that doesn't work for me is the more quote-unquote traditional movie stuff. The characters explaining their trauma, dealing with grief, dealing with blah, 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 blah. It's not that it's uninteresting. It's just that, like, it takes you out of what is the best parts of the movie, which is you're in the back rooms and you're in these weird liminal spaces where things are halfway through the floor, or the Christmas tree room is all red and there's moving things, or are there moving things, and the stop sign is backwards and it says pots, and that's very funny. But it takes away from all that. I wouldn't even say in a conventional sense. I just think it's kind of in a poorly done sense, but it's just brief enough and short enough that you don't really have to deal with it too much. Because clearly not that Kane Parsons or the writer Will Soodik isn't interested in that stuff, but it's just that, like, they know where the bread is buttered. Like, we got to get into the back rooms, we go in blind to the back rooms. Chiwetel finds it in the basement of his furniture store. He's drunk, he's confused. He goes in, he explores, and then we kind of say, like, all right, well, what would make him explore the back rooms? Because, like, if me, normal enough guy, found the back rooms and realized that, like, oh, maybe this thing is endless, and I'm hearing footsteps, like heavy footsteps, I'd go the other way. I'd tell someone. I'd call a friend. I'd call the police, perhaps, and say, hey, guys, the back rooms are right here in my furniture store. I don't want to go in there. You probably don't either, but, like, someone should do something about this. Like, maybe, put another wall up or something. Lock the door to the back rooms, so on and so forth. He does not do that, and we kind of have to spend some time, like, why? What would make a person do that? So he gets lost in there. Renate Reinsve's therapist, she goes in after him at some point, and it's like, all right, well, why would she go in after him? He's just a patient. Like, I get it. Maybe she cares about this guy, but like, again, why is she going into the back rooms? Oh, she's got her own trauma. Out of a 110-minute movie, it doesn't spend a ton of time on the why, the trauma behind it, the characterization of these people. We don't need it. We don't want it. We want to be in the back rooms almost as much as possible. We want to be exploring the back rooms. I like when Chiwetel shows off the maps that he's drawn. It's like, all right, this is how far I've been. This is what I've tracked so far. And we don't even see him in some of these rooms. We just see them kind of written down where he's like, all right, here's the entrance and here's where I've gone so far. And it's clear that, we only see him enter a couple times, probably over the span of a couple of days. But it seems clear to me that like this has been happening for weeks. He's been exploring the back rooms because he brings along two of his coworkers, played by Bennett and Lukita Maxwell, who don't have a ton to do, but they're pretty funny. And they're two teenagers basically that also work at the furniture store that just happen to have a camera. And we see a lot of the POV through Bennett's old camcorder from the 90s, and it's really well done. The aesthetic is really impressive. The fluorescent lighting, constant humming of the lights, just the yellow tint in all of the rooms, just incredibly 90s and very impressive for someone that was born in the year 2006. Kane Parsons directed this movie, a 20-year-old, and was able to make a movie feel like it took place in 1990 or 1991 or whatever. It's just super well done. It's really impressive. There are there's some jump scares in here. I don't feel like any of them are necessarily cheap, but there is a certain level of the horror aspect, especially for this movie, that differs from something like Obsession, which is kind of a more standard straight down the middle. Not straight down the middle, but just like the scares in Obsession you've seen before. There's some jump scares or some characters are being weird, and the tension builds up in this normal way where you're waiting for something to happen. But in Backrooms, the success of this movie comes from the odd feeling that you get being in these liminal spaces, the almost uncanny valley of, all right, I recognize this. When you see an AI character or something, or something's off with Peter Cushing's character at the end of Rogue One, or in Rogue One, or Carrie Fisher's character at the end of Rogue One, where you're like, I recognize this is Carrie Fisher. I recognize that this is an office space that I'm in a room right now, but one thing is off, and I don't know why. But something's off. What is it? And sometimes it's as simple as the couch is halfway through the floor, or there's a pair of shoes sticking out of the ceiling, where you only see half of them. And then there's other times where it's like, this is a normal room, but something still is off. And they use this analogy in the movie a couple times, and I think it's really good. It's the back rooms are like if you describe to someone who has never seen a dog before, if you describe to them what a dog is, and then you ask them to draw it, they're gonna get pretty close. But some stuff is just gonna be wrong, and it's gonna throw off the whole perception of the dog that they drew. And that's a really good analogy for it. I had never thought about something like that. I never thought of it that way. I think it's really, really smart filmmaking. I think it's smart script writing. It gets down to the point pretty quickly. And so if you can't get on board, and I think there's going to be an older audience to this movie that won't necessarily be on board or on the bandwagon with I don't think I find these liminal spaces, I don't think I find the backrooms themselves that scary. And that's where some of the more conventional tropes of a horror movie, where there are some jump scares, or there might be something around the corner, or you see a shadow move every now and then, or the footsteps get louder and louder, and sometimes they get softer and softer, and you hear a voice talking every now and then. Is it a recording? Is it a real person? We don't know that. I think those more standard tropes in a horror movie aid the newer-ish horror of what we have Gen Z or Gen Alpha horror, about these liminal spaces where it's nothing really happens in these rooms, but you're feeling very uneasy because it never ends, and every time we turn a corner, there's not necessarily going to be a 15-foot monster, but a room is going to be a little different. And then all of a sudden, we went from being in the back rooms of a furniture store, we're we're in bathrooms, or we're in, you know, back rooms of spas that look off, where there's trees and hot tubs and showers or whatever. Like, everything is just a little bit off. And every time you turn a corner, like, you feel you get anxious all over again, because you just don't know what's around the corner. Because I guess in theory there could be a 12-foot monster hiding behind the corner, but more than likely it's just like, oh my god, this thing really is never ending, and it looks a little different this time. So who knows where this leads you? And some of the doors are different sizes and shapes, and the doorknobs do or don't work. Like, there's an air of mystery above the whole movie that I think is very well done and communicated expertly. I hope Kane Parsons goes on to make many more movies. I hope he's not just like stuck in like Backrooms 2 Electric Boogaloo territory. This movie's gonna make so much money. This movie's on a $10 million budget, which is crazy to give a 20-year-old $10 million to make a movie who's never made a feature-length movie before. But they did, and it's gonna pay off. This movie might open to like $60 million, which this is gonna be A24's highest-grossing movie like very quickly, which is super impressive. Everything about this is just impressive. I just got to get it out there. Quick note on Mark Duplass, who's also in this movie, shows up in the third act. Again, if you don't want to be spoiled at all, just click away, go watch the movie. I like the fact that there is, you know, a science lab basically going on that's exploring and studying the backrooms. I like that stuff. I'm sure that it gets way more into it in the YouTube videos. I'm sure there's a lot of lore about the company, and, you know, did the scientists create the backrooms? Did they just find and are studying the backrooms? Like, I'm not 100% sure, and that's totally fine. But I like that it's very Stranger Things-esque, and I'm far from the biggest Stranger Things fan, but I do like the, not necessarily government involvement, but just like there are things that we don't understand that, you know, companies or higher ups are trying to hide and to understand, and that sort of, you know, creeping feeling that at any point any of us could be in the back rooms pretty much, and it's like, oh my gosh, well, we have to learn about this in order to use it, to block it out, like we don't know necessarily. And after everything that happens in the movie, Duplass comes in and is just very calm, like, hello, I am a scientist. Can you please tell me your experience in the back rooms? And he's very calm and welcoming, and it's always a bit uneasy in that scene because it's very unclear, and is not made clear at the end, whether or not like this group of scientists are good guys or bad guys. Like, we don't know. Are they studying the back rooms for evil? Are they studying them to make a weapon? Are they studying them to potentially throw their enemies in there? Or are they good guys? Are they looking for medicine or whatever? Like, are they going to use the back rooms for good, or are they just going to shut the back rooms out totally? Like, is that their goal? We don't know. It's literally not explained. The movie has this very sudden ending where we get a little bit of backstory on what the back rooms are and how they work in terms of creating rooms upon rooms upon rooms. And it's like, all right, where does it end? Well, it never really ends, but it just keeps evolving pretty much. And I like that a lot. That was very good. The movie's very good. That's really all I have to say. This was not my best review ever, I'll say. It did get very in-depth. I don't think you want to go in-depth with this movie. I kind of just enjoyed it for what it was on the surface. You don't have to think about it too much. I think the best way to like talk and think about this movie is to just dig into the lore in itself. Go watch Backrooms YouTube videos. I think Kane Parsons' YouTube channel is called Kane Pixels. So if you like want to watch Backrooms episode 1, I don't even know if that's how it works, but if you want to watch Backrooms 1, it's like, I think they're like 30 to 40 minutes. Go watch Backrooms 1 and you'll learn the lore of the Backrooms themselves. Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. All right, thank you so much for watching this review of Backrooms. Go see it in theaters. There's a ton of good movies on theaters right now. I'm going to try to watch as many as possible and then review them as I go here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video, and goodbye.